good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. For me, it's good morning. It's now 8:22 on a Wednesday morning. So hump day, happy hump day. I always feel like doing a training on a hump day. Happy hump day. Lovely of you to join in. And I hope you're having a wonderful day wherever you are in the world and whatever time it might be when you watch this. So you're very welcome. I would recommend that if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to put them in the chat and I will come back and go through them. So please feel free to put them in the chat or in the comment section. I want to today talk about subtitles. I get asked about this all the time. Should I watch with English subtitles? Should I watch with no subtitles? Should I watch with my native language subtitles? And I'm here to answer your questions. So, listening to any form of English is always beneficial. Absolutely. It depends what your goal is. Your goal would determine whether you want subtitles or whether you do not. I would highly recommend that you do not use your native subtitles unless this is a subject you're finding very, very tricky. Unless this is a subject where you really want to grow your vocabulary and learn lots of new information. If this is the case, I would suggest there are better ways of doing it, as in finding an article about the relevant information, relevant subject, that you can then pick out the vocabulary by seeing the words, make a note of them, learn them a little bit, and then watch a documentary or movie about that subject when you have a few more words and phrases that you're aware of. To take information comes across very quickly when it's being spoken, and when you're reading something, you can take the information in at your own pace. So I would recommend that if you wanted to learn about a new subject, try and do it either with English subtitles or with no subtitles rather than subtitles in your native language. Now, so I'm going to focus my attention on whether you should have English subtitles or no subtitles. So you will know whether you really want to improve your listening skills, whether you want to improve your vocabulary, whether you just want to enjoy watching the movie or drama. So whether you use subtitles or not depends on your reason for watching. If you just want to sit, put your feet up and enjoy a series on Netflix, feel free to watch with subtitles. I would recommend always having a piece of paper and a pad or your Google Doc with your Google Sheets with your vocabulary on. So if there's any words or phrases that you hear being used that you think that would be useful, you can make a note of them. So I would always recommend having that with you, which is why I recommend Sheets, because you can have it on your phone, it can be on your laptop, wherever you are, it can be. So I would always recommend making a note of any very useful sounding words and phrases that you aren't aware of, or perhaps you're growing your active vocabulary to include some passive vocabulary. And if you're not sure about that, there'll be a link to that video below. So any words and phrases that you might know but that you wouldn't feel comfortable in using, again, make a note of those and just pop a note saying it's passive vocabulary, so it's easier for you to learn than brand new vocabulary. The most tricky way of watching movies and dramas and TV shows is without subtitles. I know this, but this is the most beneficial for your English. If you're watching, I particularly recommend ongoing dramas. So even things like Friends, Grey's Anatomy, Suits, all of these wonderful programs that have the same characters, they will use the same kind of vocabulary and they will talk about the same subjects. And if you watch the first one or two, then it will just get easier and easier. It's like reading a book by the same author. They tend to use the same language. So there's a lot of repetition. So if you can do that, that would be very beneficial. I know that a couple of stars like RM from BTS, he actually learned English through watching Friends. Friends is a great show. It's very light-hearted. Each episode is around 20 minutes, 25 minutes. So they're quite short and fun. So, and if you're struggling, if you want to watch something, if you want to start watching something like Friends and you're finding it very difficult to start with, then here's my ultimate plan. Watch it with subtitles, first of all. Watch it slowly, break it down into sections, and all of the words and phrases you're not comfortable with, find out what they mean. Okay, so this is step one. Step two, watch it again. Slowly, stopping every time you come across any word or phrase that you don't really know. This second time you watch it, and using full focus, first and second times, absolutely full focus. You're here to learn. Then the third time, the second time you should find it easier, and the third time you should find it easier still. Again, full focus, again, subtitles if you need them, and make a note of any new words and phrases. Now, that sounds like a lot of work, but moving forward, it will make it much, much easier. So on the third time, watch it again, full focus, see what words and phrases that you're left with, because by then you should already know what everyone's talking about. You can maybe on the third occasion, watch the intonation, watch the pausing, watch where people laugh, because there's what's called canned laughter. It's almost fake laughter, but it shows the audience where to laugh. So the funny bits. So look for the funny bits and see if you can find what's funny. And then on the fourth time, just kick back and watch and enjoy, because by then you should know what everyone's saying. You should start to get to know the characters a little bit. You should be able to start appreciating the funny bits, and it should be much easier. Now, if you do this on the first episode, the second episode will, as I said, use very similar vocabulary, very similar phrasing, and all, of course, by now you know the characters, particularly in Friends. I'm going to use that as a really good example. Friends there are 6 main characters. So if you've done the whole process for the first episode, by the second episode, you will know all of the characters. You'll see how they use their phrasing. So like, for example, Joey, when he wants to chat up, or when he wants to get to know a woman that he finds attractive, he'll go, "Hey, how are you doing?" And this is a phrase that he uses exclusively. In fact, I've never heard anyone else doing it unless they're pretending to be Joey. So, but as time goes on, you will see the phrases that only those characters use, and it will get easier and easier. So the second episode that you watch, you will maybe need to do the first, maybe 1 or 2 viewings in the same way, focused, making a note of any words and phrases. But by the third episode, you'll be able to enjoy it. On the third episode, the third watching, you will be able to enjoy it. On the third episode, you will find it starts to get easier. And you should be able to perhaps do one focused run through, picking up any extra words and phrases, and then you should be able to enjoy it. So if you're watching a film, this becomes a lot more difficult, obviously, because you don't want to watch a film in such broken down sections. However, I would recommend that you watch it with subtitles the first time. Make a note of don't try and learn so many new phrases, but get to know what they're talking about, get to know what they mean. And then the second time of watching, maybe take the subtitles off and see how you go. If you find any areas of the film difficult, then make a note of the timing. So maybe, I don't know, 14 minutes in for 3 minutes. And then at the end of the film, go back and watch that 14 minutes in for 3 minutes. and with the subtitles on, and get to know a little bit more. And then you can watch the film again. I recommend doing this to start off with films that you really like. If you really like the Marvel movies, or if you like historical dramas, or if you like fast-moving action films, then find your favorite film so far and go through. You'll have more of an idea of what's going on to start with. You know the characters already. So that might be something worth doing. I often recommend Harry Potter as a starting point, because Harry Potter is something that a lot of people have watched, and it's quite straightforward, especially the first couple of films are quite straightforward. So most people have an idea of what's going on. Most people know who the characters are, and people might have actually read the books, whether in their own language or whether it's in English. And so that's another recommendation that I often give. Okay, so it's quite a lot of information there, I feel. I will put together a summary sheet for how the structure would work, so you can kind of tick off, okay, Friends, episode 1, I've done the first run through, the second run through, the third run through, and then I've watched it. I've tried to watch it without subtitles, had difficulty in minute 9. I've been back and gone through minute 9. So just try and do a little log of how you're getting on. Makes it easier to figure out what to watch. If you fancy doing some English, but you don't want to sit and study, this is a really good, one of the first run-throughs is a really good practice to get into. It's fun, and it will help you along with your day-to-day language skills. Okay, so I have got a summary sheet that I can give to you. So if you'd like it, please drop a comment and say yes, and I will reach out and send it to you. I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope this tip has been useful for you. As I said, I get asked about subtitles a lot, but this is using subtitles in this positive way will help you moving forward. So I hope it's useful. And if you've got any questions, please feel free to ask. Have a wonderful day. See you soon. Bye-bye.